Hi everyone, my name is Emily Bartle-Haigh and I'm a cosmetic tattoo artist here at Brow Jam Dundee. Today we're going to talk about microblading touch-ups and when I would top up a client. So I would say the best thing about being a microblading artist, even though it's the most generic answer ever, is genuinely making people feel amazing and completely changing their self-esteem, making them feel like the best version of themselves. Some of the biggest challenges with microblading, I guess it depends what level of your career you're at. If you were to ask me, as I am now, the level I'm at, I would say the biggest challenge is defending the treatment. Obviously, the industry is changing, it's developing, it's getting better. I'm going with that. For example, machine hair strokes are a big thing now, which is amazing. However, microblading will always serve its purpose. Yes, it has its risks. Yes, if it's done incorrectly, it can damage the skin. However, when it's done properly and to a high standard, it's a really beautiful treatment which will serve the client for the rest of their lives with amazing yield results. If we were chatting about from a beginner level, I would say the biggest challenge would be finding the correct depth in the skin. Obviously, if you don't go deep enough, your pigment's not going to retain. If you go too deep into the skin, you run the risk of your results blurring and scarring the skin. I would say my advice would be practice your strokes on fruit to begin with, because that's the most realistic feel for working on real skin, especially bananas. And if you're nervous about going too deep, just work very shallow to start with, as it's easier to do a top up on the client than have to advise them to go for removal services in the future. How often I would do top-ups on clients? To begin with, after the initial treatment, I would get somebody back in at about 8 to 12 weeks. Now, this treatment would only be there for tweaks, is what I say to my clients. Maybe they've lost a couple of strokes and it's creating gaps. Maybe it's healed back lighter than I anticipated and they want to go a little bit darker, but they can have that done if they need to after the initial heal. After that second appointment, I say to my client, wait until you've lost about 50% of the pigment. For some clients, that can be 3 years. For others, it could be 5. For some people, it can be a lot longer. It really just depends on the individual. The reason I like to work this way is because if you go into the skin too often, too soon, for example, sometimes people do 6-month top-ups, sometimes they do yearly top-ups, you're actually going to oversaturate the skin and lose that nice clean hair stroke effect that you want the client to have long term. When it comes to top-ups, I have this theory and I call it the bathtub theory. If you have me on social media, you've probably seen me talk through this before, but it's basically just an explanation of why we wouldn't want to oversaturate the skin or why we would want to wait until some of the pigment has lifted before we add more. If you think of running a bath, you run this bath with fresh, hot water. Let's just say you forget about it. You come back after a period of time and you want to get in the bath, but the water is now cold. What are you going to have to do before you get in the bath? You're going to have to let some of it out to then add fresh, hot water. It's the same as the skin. If you want to add nice, clean, fresh strokes, more pigment under the skin, you're going to have to allow some of the pigment to come out first before you add more in order for it to look fresh. In between this time, obviously 3 to 5 years is a long period of time. It's not to say you can't get your client back in before that, you just wouldn't want to do the entire brow again until some of the pigment was gone. If your client was experiencing a gap in the brow or a couple of strokes again had come out and it was creating a big space, you can get them in to fix that. You just wouldn't want to go over the whole brow again until they'd experienced some type of pigment loss. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope you feel you've learnt something today. If you want any more information about myself or Brow Jam, everything will be linked in the description.